The reason Snow White is called Snow White in this version of the film, because of course she is not white as snow, is because she and her family go through a snowstorm and survive the snowstorm, and so it's a mark of her resilience. That's why she's called Snow White.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's giving Disney the biggest headache of them all? Looks like it's their own Snow White. According to page 6, Disney execs are panicking behind the scenes, scrambling to rein in leading lady Rachel Zegler, who, insiders claim, has gone completely rogue.
Congrats on the film. How does it feel to finally have it come out?
Feels wonderful.
Feels wonderful.
Word is she's out of control, refusing to listen to direct orders from company higher-ups and making their PR nightmare even worse. Now, in a last-ditch effort to contain the chaos, Disney is reportedly ditching traditional press interviews. Instead, they're handpicking carefully vetted influencers to interview Zegler. The goal? To put a leash on their loose cannon princess before she completely burns the kingdom down. That's a pretty big move on Disney's part, not gonna lie. So how did things get this bad? You see, sources are now spilling that Zegler's never-ending political rants, especially her obsession with tying activism to the film, have executives losing their minds. It's been this way the entire way through filming, an insider revealed to page 6. And let's not forget, this is the same Rachel Zegler who famously melted down after the election, wishing Trump supporters would never know peace. With Zegler proving to be a walking PR catastrophe, Disney is making a drastic move, turning to carefully handpicked influencers to clean up the mess. Wait, so Disney is officially putting their billion-dollar franchise in the hands of TikTokers and YouTubers? What's really going on here? What's even more confusing is that instead of the usual star-studded red carpet spectacle, Disney quietly swapped its global Snow White premiere for something more low-key. And trust us, it's not going unnoticed. This week's European event wasn't even called a premiere. Instead of Hollywood royalty, the guest list was packed with local Spanish influencers and families from Segovia, a charming city with a population of just 51,000. Not exactly the A-list, right? And if that wasn't enough of a red flag, Rachel Zegler was basically left to fend for herself. Her co-star Gal Gadot was MIA, meaning Rachel had to smile through the awkwardness with only director Mark Webb by her side. This scaled-back European event actually replaced what was supposed to be a glitzy London premiere, and insiders say the LA event is getting the same treatment. Why? It's simple. Rather than face tough questions about the film's many scandals, Disney seems to be tightening its grip. How? By opting for controlled press events over full-blown premieres. Okay, let's rewind for a second. How did things get so bad that Disney doesn't even want to market one of their biggest movies anymore? Well, a lot of this has to do with how Zegler has also been lashing out online. Recently, she's been in full damage control mode, this time firing back at a social media user who dared to question her vocal chops. After her Waiting on a Wish live performance in Spain, the hate train made its way to Rachel's socials once again. A critic even shaded Disney for not casting an actual soprano for the role. Zegler immediately snapped back, "I am a soprano! West Side Story is now streaming on Disney." Now you know something is wrong when an actor can't handle some bad press. With every move Disney makes, the question becomes clearer. Are they protecting Zegler or protecting themselves from Zegler? Let's be honest, Rachel has been a walking PR nightmare for this film from day one. It all started when Rachel Zegler, the rising Latina star from Spielberg's West Side Story, decided to drag the 1937 Disney classic through the mud. And let's just say, Disney diehards are not having it. In a 2022 interview with Variety, Zegler basically called the original Snow White a creepy stalker victim.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
She even admitted that she was scared of the original and only watched it once before never picking it up again.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like, I'm being so serious.
Girl, you signed up to play her. But Zegler didn't stop there. At Disney's D23 Expo, she proudly declared that her Snow White won't be dreaming of true love. Instead, she'll be too busy plotting her rise to power.
She's not gonna be safe with the prince, and she's not gonna be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
Now, we all love a strong female lead, but did she just completely rewrite the story? Of course, once this interview hit social media, the backlash was real. Many people think if Rachel just didn't like the OG story, she should have just done a different movie altogether.
Snow White by the Brothers Grimm great little fairy tale, leave it as is. If you don't like
Also,
it,
do you know-
make your own one.
It's not been
you know,
rewritten,
Rachel,
though.
It has
you
been
know,
rewritten.
when Rachel says, so we're not doing that this time.
That's not all. David Halehand, son of the original Snow White supervising director, is not here for it. In a scathing interview with Page Six, he blasted Disney for destroying his father's legacy, and he made one thing crystal clear: I won't be buying a ticket. Okay, when the family of the original creators won't support your remake, you know things are bad. Hand even went on to say that the original was the way it should be, and that the new film is so far off base that it's ridiculous. But wait, it gets even worse. Hand didn't just criticize the film, he said the changes would make his father and Walt Disney roll in their graves. His wife, Sandra Hand, took it a step further, adding, David's father took so much pride in the film, and he would say, "What have you done?" Of course, the real question now is, does Disney even care anymore about this backlash? Think about it. Last year, set photos broke the internet when fans saw that Snow White's 7 dwarfs had been replaced with a hodgepodge of different-sized, diverse extras. This is precisely when Jason Acuna came out to absolutely roast Disney. You're replacing jobs that people could have as little people. It's for dwarfs. Why are you hiring Snow White and the 7 average people?
You're replacing jobs that people could have as little people. Snow White and the 7 dwarfs, it's for dwarfs, you know?
As if this wasn't bad enough, Disney soon scrapped the average-looking dwarfs altogether. And guess what they replaced them with? CGI characters. The backlash was instant. People were already skeptical when early set photos showed random extras playing the 7 dwarfs. But now, with CGI in the mix, the outrage has gone nuclear. Was Disney ever going to use real actors, or were they just scrambling to clean up another PR nightmare? Actor Peter Dinklage, who has achondroplasia, a form of dwarfism, was definitely not impressed with Disney's so-called progressive choices. In an explosive interview, he dragged the studio for its selective wokeness. He questioned how Disney could celebrate casting a Latina actress as Snow White while still telling a story that reinforces outdated portrayals of little people. To him, the contradiction was glaring, and he wasn't afraid to call it out.
You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that f***ing backward
Oh,
story of 7 dwarves living in a cave.
Guess what? After Dinklage torched Disney's live-action Snow White for being backward, Disney was forced to do some serious damage control. Facing major backlash, they quickly rushed out a statement insisting that their version of Snow White would not reinforce stereotypes from the 1937 classic. They claimed they were taking a different approach and had been consulting with members of the dwarfism community to make sure the portrayal was handled correctly. But here's the thing, what exactly does that mean? Because the last time fans checked, the movie has no actual dwarfs in the main cast, and a confusing mix of characters replacing them. Not to mention a lead actress who publicly trashed the original. So, what's left of Snow White at this point? As Disney nears Snow White's premiere, things are getting more and more tense, that's for sure. And you know what? Maybe all that hate has finally caught up to Rachel Zegler after all.
what would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
I'm getting on a cross. Hold on. Here. Hold on.
All right, congrats, Rachel.
Or at least, that's the message she sent when TMZ caught up with her at LAX recently. Fresh off the announcement that she's joining the West End's Evita, the West Side Story star did not seem eager to discuss her controversial Disney remake. When a TMZ reporter asked how it felt that Snow White was finally hitting theaters, she kept it short and sweet. It feels wonderful, thank you. And when the interviewer pushed further, asking her thoughts on the relentless criticism the film has faced, she bolted straight for her black SUV and dipped. For someone who's been so outspoken about the movie, this sudden radio silence is very telling. So what are your thoughts on Rachel getting fired by Disney after the Snow White disaster? Let us know in the comments.